Alright, here's a quick little overview of the Transformers deck building game, which they sent to me and I've been checking out. And it's actually quite a lot of fun. You can play it one-handed, you can play it solo, you can play it cooperative with a friend, you can play it competitive with a friend. They are, I think, planning a Decepticon expansion, because right now the way this works is you're playing as an Autobot moving through the Matrix and you're encountering Decepticons, and I feel like the Decepticon version will probably just be the reverse of that, where you're playing Decepticons and Autobots will pop up and you have to fight them. It is all self-contained. Like I said, they may do a Decepticon version of it, but you don't need to buy... I haven't heard of any expansion packs. You don't need to buy more cards for it. Everything you need is here in the game. And it is a deck-building game. So basically, you'll start off with some cards, and as you move your way through the Matrix, you've got Energon. You start off with a little bit, and you can acquire more throughout the game. And you can use that to pay for cards that you uncover through here, or by drawing a card from the deck. And the way it's set up, like I said, it plays a lot like Mint Cooperative, in that you've got a board you're moving through made up of cards. In this case, it's random. Like, you kind of build the Matrix you shuffle the cards, build the Matrix, and then you shuffle some more cards into like an event deck over here. And basically, you have three bosses. You can choose your bosses, you can put them in there randomly, but you basically make three piles of cards, each one with a boss in it, shuffle those, and then stack them to make your deck. So while it's possible you might uncover two bosses in a row depending on how they're shuffled and where those decks go, you're not just going to burn through all three bosses and win the game, because the goal of the game is to beat all three of the bosses before they either defeat you or before you run out of cards to replace the Matrix. Because as you search and flip some of these cards and then add them to your deck, here's Spike Witwicky, he's an ally. So if you bought him or gained, you can put him into play immediately, is his special thing. But you can buy him, add him to your deck, and when that space is empty, you replace it with another card out of the deck, right there. And basically, you just move around doing that, encountering bosses, and sometimes the bosses will come up. Events will trigger this over here. When bosses come up, you can fight them. There are some cards in here that will prevent you, they have kind of the equivalent of threat. You have to get rid of that card. You can't attack the boss unless you clear out this special mission or an ambush or things like that throughout the Matrix. It's very simple. You on your turn, you can move around based on your character. You can transform to alt mode, and this is I've got Bumblebee on display here. This is his little token marker, and it's just the same art on both sides. But you get character cards for all of the Autobots that come in this set: Optimus, Bumblebee, Ironhide, Wheeljack, RC, and Ratchet. And then on the opposite side, it has all of their alt modes. So you can transform, and being in alt mode will let you deal with things in a different way than being in robot mode. Very similar to the trading card game that came out. Obviously, alt mode gives you different things. And your goal is to build your deck, pay for your cards, and defeat three bosses in the encounter deck over here before you get defeated, or before you run out of Matrix to explore. Basically, is how it works. It's a lot of fun. I'm not gonna go through all the rules. I'm still kind of learning them, but it's here's the basic turn sequence. You can do any of these in any order, as many times as you want. If you have enough money to pay, or Energon to pay for two cards, you can do that. But you can play a card, move. You can search, which is you can move, search, and reveal that card underneath there. Buy or battle cards. Sometimes some of these cards that pop up here aren't allies; they're enemies, and you have to fight them. Or you can choose to fight them, and you'll get victory points. And the way that works is, if you're playing cooperative, you want to beat all three of the bosses. If you're playing competitive, when the game ends, you want to, if somebody else is playing on the board, you want to have the most victory points at the end. That's how that works. Activate Energon abilities, transform, or confront a boss. That's what it is. I knew there was a specific term for confronting a boss. And then you announce the turn, you refill the Matrix. If there's no empty spaces, destroy the top card of the main deck unless it's a boss. So if you don't reveal anything or buy anything, the top card here will get destroyed unless it has been, which means it goes away unless it's a boss. When a boss comes up, you have to defeat it before you can get rid of any more cards. You can discard any cards except for ongoing, and there's some little cardboard tokens that will help you keep track of ongoing effects and things like that. But these are the main components here. You want to have your Energon. The small ones are 1 Energon. The larger cubes here are 5 Energon. And that's how it works. Like I said, it's fairly simple to set up. It's and even learn how to play. Once you get into it, there's a lot of tactics and things that you'll end up dealing with and learning how to play. There's some cool, like I said, we showed you the Autobots. Here's like there's an encounter deck, and these will do different things. Like I said, ambush cards that will have different effects in the game itself, and then in the deck. I'm pretty sure they're over here. Let me find the boss cards, because I have, this is just a sample deck I was sitting and stuff, but like there's some things to deal with here, Decepticon schemes, and then the bosses are here. You've got things like Soundwave, Astro Train, and these don't have back ends because they just flip up. These are the different bosses you can fight: Soundwave, Astro Train, Starscream, Blitzwing, Megatron, and Devastator. Megatron and Devastator are equal here, and you can see that like they're level 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. I think when you're playing, I think for the basic game, for the learn how to play, it's just these three. But I think the way you want to do it is you put a level 1 boss in the first pile of 5 cards, a level 2 boss in the second pile, and a level 3 boss in the third. So you kind of escalate as you go through the game. You could just flip them over and just pick 3 bosses at random if you wanted to. But then you've got cards like that come up. Those are the main bosses you're going to be fighting against. But there are some other Decepticon cards. Like you'll find, is he out here? So here, Phase Shifter. I know there are some other Autobots that can pop up here in the Matrix, and there are some cards that will make you treat all Autobots in the Matrix as enemies. So if you don't get rid of Jazz or whoever else has shown up, you can't. It doesn't keep you from moving through the Matrix or buying cards, but you can't confront a boss if there are other enemies in the Matrix preventing you from doing so. But like, there's things like damage cards, which will cause you to lose victory points at the end of the game. Transform and roll out. Yeah, see, there's a Brawn, RC. You get RC as a thing: Brawn, Mirage, Bumblebee, Cliff Jumper, Hound, Prowl, Jazz, Wheeljack, Optimus Prime, Ratchet, Ironhide. So you can find other Autobots in the set as well. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, I highly recommend, if you have a chance to pick up a copy, I recommend doing it. It's a lot of fun. And it's Transformers themed. They have a G.I. Joe version. I think there may even be a Power Rangers version. They've got this basic kind of setup for a lot of different properties that, if you like Transformers, you probably dig them too. So check them out. It is, where'd the box go? Oh, it's right here behind me. It was literally touching my back at the same time. But it's from Renegade Game Studio. It is the Transformers deck building game. And again, let me set this up so you can show the box art there. But it's nice. I liked playing the Transformers trading card game, keeping up with all of the releases, or any collectible card game. Collectible card games versus deck building games are... I play some Magic. I play some Digimon. I played the Transformers TCG. I haven't kept up with the third party. I know there's some people still keeping that alive and making new cards for it with print and play stuff, and I haven't looked into that so far. Kept up with it since then. But I hear Scrapper and Shrapnel. Yeah, there's more Decepticons here too. But yeah, I prefer games like this. I like buying a game and having it all in one box and not having to and then 3 months from now spend more money on more cards to have a competitive deck. I like games that can be cooperative. I like that you can play this competitively, like against another player if you want. If you're feeling competitive, play it against somebody. Feeling like, hey, let's have some fun together, play it cooperative. Hey, I don't have any to play with, or it's late at night and I want something to do, play it by yourself. I like games that give you that option all in one box because, like I said, it just gives you a lot more options on how to play it. And the more options you have on how to play it, the more likely it is you're going to pull it out and play it. At least I know around here. So, but anyway, that is the Transformers deck building game from Renegade Game Studio. It's fun. It's Transformers themed, so it's got that going for it. And like I said, I've only played Bumblebee and Wheeljack so far. I don't know why I haven't played Optimus yet. You'd think he'd be one of the first ones I'd go for in the game. But yeah, there's some neat stuff, and I highly recommend checking it out. And also, real quick, before I wrap this all the way up, I want to give a shout out to them for their interior box tray design. Marvel Champions is a lot of fun. I'm having a great time playing it, but the included tray for the stuff is kind of organizational, but like doesn't really carry its weight when you start getting some expansions and things. And what I love about what they've done here with the tray is like you've got your instruction manual that can rest right there on top, and then in here you've got clearly designed trays for like these are some of the tokens I was talking about. Ongoing trackers, start of turn, so you can remember when things take effect. That should bring it down a little bit up here at the top. You've got the double-sided -1 movement, +1 energy tokens to keep track of stuff like that. Counter tokens here, 5, 1. I think there's some larger 10 ones in here as well. A little baggie for the Energon cubes, great. Here's your a slot for your 85 card main deck here, and then up here there's a big slot for your character cards, and then underneath that a nice little tray to hold the stands and the little cutouts for moving through the matrix, which is nice. And then like that, and then here is your basic cards, your starter cards, encounter cards, Decepticon bosses, and then your basic turn cards. So there's a lot. They give you like, and you can see there's room if they do announce an expansion. There's plenty of room here to add some more cards to each of these decks. Plenty of room here on the main deck. They probably won't add too much starter cards, but even if they do, or basic cards probably won't add too much, but you might get some more main deck cards. There's plenty of room for more characters up here in this part. More Decepticon bosses can easily be added in there, so maybe there'll be some expansion packs with new bosses and new strategies. But regardless of how it works, everything that comes in this game, and it is, like I said, expansions or not, this is a complete game. You don't have to keep buying cards for it, and it's got a really nice setup to store everything conveniently and easily accessible. So if you just want to play, you're just learning how to play and you want to just start with the starter cards, right there, they're separated. You can tell them by having a white border. Need your encounter cards, need to find your Decepticon bosses. Everything separates out nicely, and I'm very happy with that. So thank you again, Renegade, for not just a fun game, but for thinking through your storage tray. Some games do not think that through all the way. They just want to get all the stuff in there and keep it from rattling around during shipment. This one did a really good job of doing that, as well as giving you some nicely organized and laid out storage for when you want to put it on the shelf or get it out and play easily, because there are so many games. I'm going to say so many. There are several games I have that I do not like the way the box layout is, and where I'm like, I could play that game, but it's going to take me 20 minutes to set it up because of how everything sits. Come on, lock into place, camera. How everything sits in the box. Another game that has a really nice layout, even has a diagram in the manual on how to lay it out. Wingspan. That is not a game I thought I would ever get into, but we play a lot of that here in this house. It's a fun game, and everything folds up and slots and stores. They could give you a little bit better egg storage, but other than that, like, it tells you put this here, then put this thing in next to it, and it all tucks away nicely in the box. But I really appreciate that. I'm going on more about that than the game, just because you don't see it that often, at least in a lot of the games I've picked up. So to have that really nice layout is just something I wanted to make sure I mentioned before I wrapped this thing, because it is above and beyond a lot of the games I've got. But anyway, Transformers deck building game from Renegade Game Studios. Check it out. I'm having a blast with it.